Here we are, Russ, Ecstasy, Conductor, We Have a Problem 3. Russ is an artist that I always wanted to work with, always been a fan of him. I'm a fan of his music for sure, and he definitely got bars, and I've always loved that about him. But what I love most about Russ and a lot of people is like his business acumen. And he's talked about this on multiple episodes of interviews and podcasts and stuff like that. So that's what really the charm about Russ is. But when I was building part 3, I wanted to have him be a part of it, like flat out. I didn't know how or what, but I wanted him to be a part of it. Shout out Jimmy Q, my dog. But Jimmy sent me a crazy sample pack. A lot of those beats y'all are gonna hear. He sends these samples to me that I either have to think really hard about flipping, or I have to be really, I gotta kill the ego and just use the loop. Beautiful samples. He's got a beautiful texture to how he records things and processes his audio, and so he makes it really easy for me to manipulate his work or just let it ride. So Stories About My Brother is also a record I did with Jimmy Q for the Scary Hours edition of For All the Dogs for Drake, and y'all are gonna hear a lot more with me and him because we just got this alien-like bond when it comes to music. So here's a sample, pretty easy. I chopped it on quarters. So those are all of the samples. And I tried playing them backwards. So it's like multiple ways I could have went with it. I just took the straightforward approach to it once I curated everything. This song, is only 4 tracks, you know. I wanted to be straightforward, and I didn't have the idea to have Russ on this song. I wanted Russ on my album. I just wanted him to pick out of songs. So I picked a batch of songs that he could just like freestyle to, because I enjoy hearing Russ rap for forever and ever and ever. So I picked joints that were short that he could just go off to, and this was one of them. Let's get out of this program and back into the next. And then we'll solo this out and you guys can hear the sample line. 2 semitones up to a C minor. One sequence, 8 bars for the loop. So 7 to a turnaround, basically, which is about standard. 7 to a turnaround, 6 to a turnaround, just depends on how long the turnaround is. So I did that, and after that, I used the kick to beef it up. And what's crazy about the kick is for this specific song, it was finding the right one because the sample is so round. And if I'm going by any kind of color chart, the sample is like the fall colors, you know what I'm saying? So the samples are like the mustards and the maroons or the burgundies and the deep hunter greens, and it's just got this round, warm autumn thing to it. So I had to find a kick that worked. So I couldn't use this bright ass kick, like a bright ass red kick that's just like punching like a needle through the speaker. I had to find something that like is round enough to just poof the speakers instead of like knock the speakers. So that was probably the biggest challenge of this record, was finding the right shoes for it. And then we just add on the rim shot to follow along with the original sample that Jimmy had the rim shot in. So this isn't like a surgical record, you know. The course of my career is like panning out. The more and more and more I realized that before my breakthrough into the music industry, I was fascinated with things that really truly don't matter to the listener. And I'm glad that I was on that, because it made me a better producer, and I was more technical, and I was like more sound and finding the perfect hi-hats and truncating them perfect and all of these things, like just trying to like make like the perfect like, you know, hair shape up cut for a beat. But as my career goes, I realized, you know, this shit just gotta jam. You know, end of the day, you gotta know how to source your material, but it's gotta jam. And if you can get out of the way of the record jamming and the artist having space to make it jam, it's like a very ego-centric driven business, especially, or profession rather, as a producer, because you want people to hear the beats. You want people to be wild, you know, especially your peers, you know what I'm saying? You want them to be like flipping out, like, I can't believe it, you know? And I think everyone wants that, even on the rap side of things. But as the producer, my school of thought is to provide the best experience for your client, the artist, to be the best possible artist they can be and write the best songs that they can. So if that make me using the loop chop straightforward to get out the way so that Russ can add the harmonies that he did and the little singing that he did. If I load this shit up with strings and try to make it a movie, then maybe he doesn't find that little vocal run that he has on the back end of the song as the song trails out. So that's kind of how I work. I kind of reverse engineer the idea of the song being good, and I think about what it takes to get it there in that way. Instead of sitting down to be like, this is a banger, I almost think about how can I get him in position. Once I get him in position, pause, to make that, then we go back in, and in post we make the record like go crazy, you know what I'm saying? So shout out Russ, great business person, controls his team, great experience working with him for the first time. Everything went smooth. Shout out Jimmy Q. Shout out y'all for listening to this Conductor, We Have a Problem Part 3, man. We all tapped in. These shits is fun. This is easy, man. You know what I mean? Doing this and rocking with y'all. But it's how I made Ecstasy for Russ for my album, Conductor, We Have a Problem 3. That's all I got, man. Till next time, Conductor, out.
Conductor, we have a problem.